Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Hollly Hour, brought to you by Trio Jazz Club, Sioux Falls' premier jazz club. Enter as friends, leave as family. Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, Excel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. The Dave Hollly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Hollly.
Thank you, Zach Dresch. It was a pleasure to open for you last Saturday night, my friend. A thank you to everyone that came out for the show at Railbirds. Great crowd with good energy. All right, welcome to the last day of July. Those of us in the area hoping Mother Nature is in a better mood in August. Meanwhile, my love and I will close out this last day of the month with the music of Paul Simon, put on at the Trio Jazz Club on the stage tonight with the Haig Brothers and the very talented Andrea Ross. As for right now, listen to great conversations with musician Victor Cajiao. Special treat. Listen at the very end of the show, after the show wrap and close, all of that, for the title track from Victor's album, Surrender. Plus, we speak with musician, actor Matt Morrison about a very busy fall schedule coming up for him. But first, let's pop the cork on this bubbly little show.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
Doesn't matter what you toast with, we all have different tastes, different times of the day we listen. I'm going to have my usual. It's Jasper Newton, Jack Daniels, Diet Coke for the line. Whether it's water, milk, coffee, tea, beer, wine, or champagne, whatever your beverage of choice is, lift it high and toast to all the friendly neighbors of South Dakota. 3 nights in a row of severe storms throughout the state sadly resulted in loss for some, downed trees and power lines for many, and broken hearts for even more. The neighborhood we live in is in the middle of Sioux Falls. We were spared severe weather. But friends living in many other Sioux Falls neighborhoods were not. Yet no matter who is dealing with damage and or grief, neighbors help neighbors in this state. We pitch in. We put together fundraisers. We may have a small population, but per capita, we have huge hearts. Cheers to South Dakotans we can rely on in tough times. The Weekend Eve Toast is brought to you by Chasers, West 12th and Ellis Road. Stop in for great food, great beverages, and fun times. Monday nights at 7, we play Dave Hollly Hour Trivia. This coming Monday, August 4th, National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. It's going to be a tasty trivia night for sure. Chasers, your neighborhood gathering place. Honorable mention. What made Dave laugh, chuckle, chortle, downright slap my knee silly, or even shed happy tears recently? Saturday night opening for Zach at Railbirds did my heart well. It had, as the younger crowd would say, been a minute since the last time I did stand-up. While my set was nothing to write home about, overall, I was pleased. Yeah, then the well-seasoned Zach took the stage and delivered a great set, and in it did everyone's heart good. Laughter is such a joy. Keep supporting the local comics as well as all local artists, whether visual or performing. Later in the hour, we speak with Matt Morrison. In just a few minutes, Victor Cajiao. It's all ahead on the Dave Hollly Hour. Trio Jazz Club is an intimate music venue in the heart of Sioux Falls. It's family-owned and family-run. Ricardo and Mary Beth and the entire staff provide the art of hospitality, while the best local and regional musicians provide the smooth sounds. It's a great vibe with live music Tuesday through Saturday nights. The chefs and mixologists offer an amazing menu and beer and wine lists. Cocktails as smooth as the jazz. Join the club, Trio Jazz Club, across from the Washington Pavilion. Enter as friends, leave as family. Serendipity Studio, where art leads the way. There's a lot to explore this week. Opening Saturday, step into the Pathways Art Exhibit, a powerful new collection that invites you to wander through stories, color, and reflection. It will be on display all month long. Tomorrow, don't miss their First Friday featured artists event. Meet the artists, browse brand new pieces, and see exciting work displayed throughout the building, including some surprising spaces. And this Saturday, the Atrium Makers Market returns. Discover a vibrant mix of handmade goods, art, and local treasures in their cozy indoor market. Full details at serendipitystudiosd.com. Come get inspired.
He's jazzed to the eyeballs. Once again, here's Dave Hollly. Crikey, mate.
Welcome back, everybody. You know I say it because, first of all, I own the show. It's all about other people. You thought I was going to say it's all about me, but I did write my own contract. I wrote, most of the things you hear, and I also wrote this piece that I just put into my own contract saying, Dave, you should really say this every time because this is what sums it up for you. It's always a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire, arts, and entertainment. And I tag that often with it. It's always a pleasure to have a new guest in the Dipsy Doodle Productions studio. And we welcome musician. I'm going to start with just that for the defining word. Victor Cajiao. How'd I do?
Really good. Cajiao. Very close.
It's a he, not a hi, huh?
It's like a
he.
Cajiao. Yeah.
Cajiao.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. I've been practicing on it ever since I asked you for the pronunciation.
I've dealt with it all my life, and the only woman that ever pronounced it right the first time, been married to 27 years.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. I say musician. I've seen you as a jazz musician, great saxophonist. And then all of a sudden, last night, you sent me your album called Surrender. And I'm sitting there listening to that going, this is awesome stuff. And I could pick up different vibes of some influences and so forth. Now, I know you're going to tell me about one in particular, but I was getting a bit of a Rippingtons idea to it as well.
Of course, the Rippingtons. And as we go down that trail, I would just want to give props to my musical collaborator, Joe Christina, who I've known since I was 15 years old. And we had, when that CD was put out in 2016, I think we'd been friends for 43 years.
Wow.
Friends. Musically, every rock and roll band, we were the horn sections, he was a trombonist, as most trombonists somehow end up being incredible arrangers and composers, and so we were both composers, but he has the gift of orchestration. He has studied that with top LA guys. And so we had done a CD back in 1995 called Resolve. And that was a fun project, but it was a different time as far as technology and DATs and limitation and track counts and stuff. And so in 2016, right after I retired, I said, I really want to do another record with Joe. And I just retired, and I want to give this as a gift to myself, knowing that I was going to make $0, which, by the way, I wasn't too far off from that. But it was just a gift of love to myself, to him, and just to have some of this music that him and I had been composing put out there. So I said, Joe, let's do it. Let's make this happen. And yes, Rippingtons, of course, there's, I have a my tradition as a saxophonist isn't as a jazzer and as an American songbook guy who studied 2-5-1 chord changes for it. That's not where I came from. I came from rock and roll and funk bands and Tower of Power horn bands.
Tower of Power.
Playing those horn parts and playing the funky solos like Pete Crystalith and those guys. Although I listened to jazz, appreciated it, tried to do it like for wedding gigs and stuff, but I was never like the cat who was really into it. Why? You know what? I was too darn lazy, to be quite honest. If I look back at myself now, I wish I would have done some of that then. And I didn't do it, but that was okay. I had great heroes, David Sanborn, Tom Scott, guys who you would say were more contemporary. I'm not going to call them smooth jazzers, but they were certainly going towards the edge more of rock jazz. Let's use that old 70s term. And Rippingtons, of course, fall right into that. And David Benoit and, Bob James, all of those things. Spyro Gyra. Biggest influence musically, probably Pat Metheny. I love the way that Pat composes, improvises, and that he lays out a musical, I'm going to just say a whole kaleidoscope of sounds. Every time you listen to his record, I think he has a goal of having you hear something a little different, something, that's out there. I call it the little sparkles, the little things. And so I always love that about his production. As we went to do this new CD, I said, well, who else have I always wanted to work with? Well, Alex Acuna, the wonderful percussionist and drummer from Weather Report. And oh goodness, we could be here all day doing this. But I said I always wanted to work with Alex. And being in LA, which is where I was at the time, and having this new world where you can reach out to people and touch them as never before through Facebook or this, that weird thing that came to us as a result of the wonderfulness and not wonderfulness of the new modern age. I just reached out to Alex on Facebook and said, hey, Alex, loved your work, always have, doing this record for 8 songs. Would love to have you as the drummer and percussionist. Get back to me. Classic cold call if you're a salesman. But I thought, what do I have to lose? Nothing, zero. And so I did that and waited. While I did that, the second thing I did similarly, and I'll try to speed it up here, was I went to my favorite mixer, and that's Pat Metheny's mixer, who is Pete Karam, a 5-time Grammy Award-winning mixer for his stuff. In 2015, he'd won Latin Album of the Year for the album Brazil. And so same thing, reached out to him, said, this is who I am. Would love to find out what it would cost for you to mix a record for us. And so Alex got back to me first and he said, hey, yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd sent him a little demo of some of the songs in MIDI. And he said, hey, if you do it on my studio using my engineer here at the house, I'll do it for $4,000. I thought
relatively inexpensive for that. Yeah.
8 songs for drums and percussions from a highly respected Hollywood guy. I said, yeah, you're on. We're going to set up some dates. So we set up those dates. And then at the same time, Pete Karam got back to me and he said, well, it's going to cost you about $12,000 for me to mix an album, about $1,500 a song. I'm like, oh, that's cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
But we got to talking and we had photography in common. And at the time I was doing a Mac podcast that was quite popular, teaching people how to use Macintosh computers and advanced things. So we got to talking and in the next couple of months, he asked me some questions about the Mac and he goes, hey, about that record. He said, why don't we do this? Why don't you mix it and just every 3 or 4 weeks, send me a rough mix of what you're doing and I'll give you some tips and tricks and corrections. I'm like, what? This is even better. And now I'm going to have this
and you got educated in the meantime.
Well, yeah, I knew how to mix. I had mixed before, but I'm like, I'm going to receive this education from Pete, which is exactly what we proceeded to do. He ended up mixing the first song of the album and mastering the album for free anyway, because we'd become friends.
Yeah.
So, and it was an incredible project because we got to record this music with 17 different musicians. Now, Alex laid down this incredible foundation to this house that inspired others to play up to his level. And this is exactly what ended up happening, whether it was friends of Joe's and I's, bass players, guitarists, and so on, or some young kids that Joe was working with doing some outreach for his Christian church program. We had some 17, 18-year-old girls that were doing background vocals. They'd never been in a studio before. They got to have that experience. And so what ended up being is a representation of our work that I think is a very good representation of me sonically. If you go in and listen, you will hear that sparkle. And if you go back and listen to the song again, you'll hear little things that I put in there as a mixer that I learned from Pete and also from Pat. So it's a great project. I'm very proud of it. And it's out there. You can go get it on Amazon or, Apple Music. Surrender. Look for my name, Victor Cajiao or Joe Christina, and take a listen. I'd love for you to do that.
What is your favorite track on it?
Oh, my
Or is that like naming a favorite child?
Well, I think the title track, Surrender, is very much one of my favorite ones. And then the last track, Tu Tambien, which is a ballad that was, to me, very much like an American songbook standard. It just kind of flowed out of me one day. I don't know where it came from, but yeah.
All right. So Surrender is, do I have your copyright permission to play that at the very tail end of today's podcast?
Absolutely. And if
Bless
you're on
you.
YouTube and something and you get a copyright little ding, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to come after you. As a matter of fact, anybody has a permission that's listening to this. If you want to use this, please do give us
Give you a
credit
shout
and let
out,
me
right.
know.
Yeah.
But if you have a project or something that's musically related and that music would make a difference to you, feel free to use it for those purposes.
Well, in fact, it was a title track, the first one I pulled up last night, and immediately this is my kind of music.
Wonderful.
In terms of a generality. I love jazz of all forms. I loved growing up in classic rock era and, grew up, I'm 62 now. We'll put it out there. And so when I grew up, I had two older siblings. One was 12 years older. One was 9 years older. So I have Beatles influences. I also have Grand Funk Railroad and In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Right there with you.
With the Iron Butterfly. So it's like all this widespread. And a friend and I one time, who was younger, recognized, he says, you think about it, the 70s especially was an incredible decade of different music.
Oh.
How you went, you started to get a little bit of early metal. You had country crossover. You've got all the soft rock and everything, adult contemporary. And it's like, because then you still had Perry Como and guys like that were recording. It's just amazing music.
Yeah.
And I feel for the younger kids now that don't come out with a realization about pop culture history. They know everything they like and so forth. But when you and I grew up, you didn't grow up listening to Benny Goodman and, Glenn Miller at that time. No, nor did I. But being in jazz band, I got such an appreciation for it all.
Yeah.
And that's where I got that influence and has to how I especially enjoy jazz. What tripped it for you?
Well, I think very, very similar. I'm 67, so I'm a little bit older than you, but it was all about what being in band in high school and jazz band in particular, and musical theater as well, playing in the orchestras for musical theater, but also being an actor in musical theater.
Okay.
I loved all of those things about the arts. And so, yes, those things were hitting for me where I could say, hey, it was perfectly fine to like Chicago or to like Led Zeppelin at the same time to love the score to The Music Man and understand, what was going on musically there and that it felt good to hear, that barbershop quartet and that I could, that warm, fuzzy feeling. Yeah, it didn't negate the warm, fuzzy feeling that I got from hearing the Chicago horn section and, dropping the needle 3,000 times to try to figure out those horn parts by ear. So I think those were the things that triggered me to that love of music. And again, my approach was a little bit different because, frankly, I just didn't have the hand holding and all the lessons and all of that to really have become more educated from that way. I think had I done that, I probably would have had some more potential, but I was into other things like money and like having, I knew I always wanted to have a family, and I didn't have that discipline in that area to be like, like my friend Joe, who was a musician and a teacher to kids and all his life, and he didn't care if he didn't have a penny to his name. That just wasn't me. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever you want to say. Now, I was able to have a renaissance later in my life where, because I had a very wonderful career, I retired at 56, and I was able to then say, I can now go and do some of these things that I couldn't have done in my 20s, and I have some means. So I went back and took lessons on how to play around 251s at 60, and during the pandemic, it was like, this is a perfect time. No, not because I didn't know how to play them before, but because I didn't know the theory behind them and stuff. And so that education at that age, I was, I'll say it from Cuba originally, so I'll say it in our language. I had the ganas, I had the wanting, and you need that wanting in order to fulfill any dream. And so whether you're 60 or whether you're 20, at 20, I didn't. At 20, I had, I think I probably had ADD or something, because I had all these other squirrels in my head, and I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to learn IT and I wanted to learn computers. But at 60, I was like, no, I'm humble enough now to be able to say, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Break it down for me, guy who's 30 years younger than me. Teach me how to teach me the formula to this, and then I'll apply my sauce from my experience into that. And that's what I've done.
Always been the saxophone?
Clarinet, saxophone, but saxophone mainly. Fooled around in keyboards, enough to play in rock and roll bands, second organ part, synthesizer part. So I've done plenty of that with rock bands.
You can hold the chord for 5 measures.
I'll absolutely. Yeah, especially in root position. No problem. But improvisationally and all of that, it's always been the saxophone. Alto most of the time was where I felt my voice was, and I really do feel in the saxophone that we have a range that kind of fits us. But in the recent years, I've been trying to shift more towards tenor to find that voice within me, because I've always loved Michael Brecker and, like I said, Tom Scott. And so I've always played all the horns, but as far as if I had, alto, tenor, soprano in front of me before, I would have grabbed for the alto. Now I'm purposely saying, when I'm going to do the gig, I want to do 75-25 tenor so that I can grow.
Yeah.
That's all.
Any desire for the soprano?
Yes. I have the soprano and I love it. But it is a different beast.
Yes, it is.
And unfortunately, you play it in a gig and 2 or 3 songs, and unless the conditions are just right, it's probably going to be out of tune. Yeah. So, but no, I love all the horns. I had a baritone for a while, and it sat in the house for 2 or 3 years, and I finally sold it to a young college kid who's going to do a lot more with it than I was. So.
What do you think that young musicians, high school age, maybe even younger, but definitely high school for sure, that are so impressionable when it comes to what they want to do with their music at this point? What do you think they need to know that maybe they're not thinking of yet?
I think that they need to know the reality of sometimes being in the arts and what that does financially, and that you can possibly have the best of both worlds. It takes sacrifice. Right. But if you want to be a purist, sure, when you are 15 and you're playing in the high school jazz band at Lincoln and you hear the great kids around you, but more, you see the camaraderie that comes with this. Right. You see, this is the attraction, is that when you are in band and it's this sense of community and culture that draws you in and tries to keep you in, which is great. But then you come to the reality that as you grow upon that, it gets shattered a bit. And boy, it's hard to find those gigs, and, and schlepping around equipment for $100. And, people,
Right.
and I would always tell people, you're not paying me to play the gig. You're paying me for the 3 hours before and the 3 hours after, and the 2 weeks I spent rehearsing.
Right.
That's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
The performance is
Well,
free.
And one of the things I talk about often, because people that we go out and we go see the live music and different events and so forth, and someone will say, well, how much do you think they're getting paid tonight? I said, well, A, I don't care. B, yeah, I got an idea. Now, here's what you need to think of. Did you see that person lug in their keyboard? Well, yeah. I said, did you see that it was in a bag? Yeah. And then put it on a stand. I go, okay, let's just talk about just that right there, just the keyboard. If they got lucky, might have gotten a decent one on sale, maybe still in the hundreds. But, chances it has 4 digits.
Probably.
Yeah. The stand. Oh, yeah, that's another one of those where probably 100 plus.
Sure.
The bag, that might even be 100 plus to protect
Absolutely.
it.
Yes.
And then you've got that person's seat at the keyboards. You've got the speakers and the mixer and all the cables and the microphone and everything along that line. This is just for a one-person gig we're talking about. I said you're up to several $1,000s. Now, here's the other thing. What about the 20-plus years of experience they have doing this?
Yes.
And are you being entertained?
And yes, and there's the gravy, right?
Yeah.
There's the gravy. It's the same thing when I hire a carpenter.
Yeah.
Same exact dynamic that you just displayed, but I'm not being entertained probably. With a musician, I'm getting all of that.
That's right.
All the tools and all the stuff that they have at the disposal, and they're grabbing their grab bag. And at the other side of it, I end up feeling pretty good at the end of it. Because you touched something.
Right.
The other night, the performance you came to see, some person said, oh, I hadn't heard Love and Happiness, one of the songs we play, in years. And I just love that song. And thank you for playing it. Ching, ching. There is why I do this.
Exactly.
The money, great. Okay. I assure you, I spend a lot more money going out and listening to other artists in the Sioux Falls area because we're so lucky to have so many.
Oh, amazing.
So I'm more than happy to go over to Trio and drop $100 listening to my friends.
Yeah.
Because I'm supporting the arts.
Exactly.
Then and when I get back, so it's just a recycling of artistry. And I'm lucky. I'm very blessed to be in a position in my life where I get to do this.
I think you just came up with a new sticker.
Is that right?
Recycling of artistry.
Recycling over. That's right.
I love it. One of the things we talk about so often on the show, collaboration, not competition.
Yeah, it's a system, and it has inputs and outputs, and we're all helping each other, artist and non-artist, by doing this. This is why I support the Council for the Arts, and I support legislation that supports the arts, and I will go and call my congressman every time. It's not political, folks. Arts are not political. Arts are for all of us to enjoy, and it lets us reminds us of our humanity. And so, here in little old Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and in South Dakota period, we're very fortunate to have an incredible amount of artists of all types. And this is from a guy who came from California, and I know what all that looks like. And what we have here, spirit-wise, is no different than what's in California. It's just that the foundation and the infrastructure there is more advanced and create a more commercial product. But as far as, again, ganas, desire, wanting, boy, we got it in spades here in South Dakota.
There's no
One of the
doubt.
reasons that we moved here to Sioux Falls from Little Elkton, where I had been for 5 years when we retired here to South Dakota, my wife and I from California. Yeah.
All right. And I always am reminded of, it's been over 25 years ago now. First time I ever had a chance to interview Sarah Crosby. And she started back then Dakota Academy of Performing Arts. Now they're doing the Spotlight Theater Company. But she told me the kids in Sioux Falls are just as talented as kids in Chicago, New York, and L.A. They just haven't had the opportunities. And I see that coming to fruition ever since I've had that conversation with her, and how it continues to grow, and the community is so supportive of it, and everything that we have now, the different places to play. You know?
Yes.
And God bless Ricardo and Mary Beth. I love Trio, and thank them as well, because they do happen to be a sponsor of this show, and because I long for jazz. And I loved it when they started it down at Our Wine,
Sure.
every Wednesday and things like that. And then, but I drink Jack Daniels more than wine or beer. So
Sure.
waited for some place that had some hard spirits to enjoy jazz with. And the atmosphere of Trio is just outstanding.
Yeah, and you have it. It's. I think the kids today who say the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibe. It's just great. It's a great hang. You see other musicians that play there,
Right.
hanging there. They don't have to be there, folks. And then you have a wonderful bartender, Will, who is a creative artist in his own.
I was just going to say that man's an artist.
Right. Yeah, and so you have and the staff, and it's just the whole vibe that you that you get as soon as you get there. When I'm not playing there, I will go there and I'll show up at 5. Go outside and have a cigar and enjoy an adult beverage, just to start that vibe, so that by 6:30 when the first show's starting, I'm already in that headspace, and the jazz is just now gravy, that I get to consume. And for me, it's a lot of artists that are new to me, because I'm new to this area now, about a year now, which has been a great experience. And I'm very blessed to have been able to play at Trio in the first year that it opened.
Yeah, and you played with some heavy hitters the other night.
What a great band.
Oh,
yeah.
my.
I usually play with a quintet. One of the guys thought he wasn't going to be able to make it. And so I hired Jimmy Spears to come and sit on trumpet with us. So it became a sextet. And I think it was just magical. I think it's going to continue to be a sextet, because, of course, anytime I play with someone like Jimmy, I just learn. When you're on stage, and it's just what Alex Acuna did for the record, a guy like Jimmy Spears, he brings everybody else up. It's just the way it is, and he comes from a very wide variety of musical experience, real jazz, what I'm going to call real jazz, or American songbook jazz being the core, where I approach things a little more contemporary,
Right.
on purpose. And I said it the other day at the bandstand, I'm like a little kid who has his own jukebox, but the jukebox is made up of 6 of the coolest guys in Sioux Falls.
Right.
And I can say, I've always wanted to play this Pat Metheny tune, and now I get to.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like the luckiest guy in the world at 67 to be able to get to do that, knowing that I'm far from the level musically of what some of those guys are doing.
But speaking of Jimmy, then, here's a guy that's in charge of Arts South Dakota, and has made a world of difference to talk about voting for legislation and making sure you contact your senators and representatives. Jimmy is always on top of that, and had some great news last week when he came back from a meeting in Washington, D.C. to get some funding back that needed to be in place. So, just the whole, it's not just that somebody may be talented in one particular aspect of art.
Yeah.
We all are artists, and we all are enjoying each other's art.
And we all have these small opportunities.
Yeah.
The Jazz Collective, for example, is an opportunity.
Goodness.
It's like, I'm more than happy to donate $25 a month, and 100 of you should also do it, because what you see come out of that is these lights that turn on for these kids that you were talking about, and it facilitates growth, not just in music, but in culture. And so I always say, people give to the arts, whatever form you want, but It's like feeding a cultural plant that'll grow. And if you don't feed that part of the plant, the culture starts to wither. I really believe that.
Yeah, it's well stated, too. Don't ever write any lyrics?
No, not a lyricist.
All right. So you have played with, just recently, 5 other incredible musicians.
Mm-hmm.
You have an album that you've had many different musicians on, including somebody you always wanted to,
Yes.
put up on the pinnacle as to, gosh, it'd be great to play with that. Who haven't you played with that you wish to?
Oh, that I would want to? Well, probably people like Tom Scott. I would love to do anything with him. Probably won't get to. Again, someone in the caliber of Pat Metheny. Certainly not Pat, because he's well beyond my reach, but I would love to do a band that featured his music. I would love to do a 10 to 12 piece Tower of Power, horn band, Earth, Wind, and Fire show band here. I would love to do that. But again, being new to this scene, I'm at that stage now where I've been around for a year. I've played trio 4 times in that year, luckily enough. But now I'm getting to the stage where I want to reach out and play with others in town.
Yeah.
So if there are other musicians that are listening and want a saxophonist and, we don't know if we could afford to run for that gig, whatever, give me a call. You might be surprised, eh? And it's about the music, B. So that's the stage where I'm at now. I had a friend reach out and say, hey, somebody might be calling you from a drama collective that they're going to be doing a show here in October. He said, I thought you might be good for it. I'm like, great. So those wheels need to go. And then what does success look like in a year? I continue to make great music at Trio and play that jukebox of mine, and the audience and the guys are digging the music, and that's what makes me keep doing it. At first I was like, I don't know if people are going to be able to hang with more contemporary jazz here, if I'm going to get some of that, you're doing the Kenny G thing. Kenny G's a pretty successful saxophonist.
He's done all right.
And if you have never heard the stuff he did with Jeff Lober Fusion and on his own in the American Songbook thing, check it out.
Yeah.
He is no hack. So I'll just say that about Kenny. But people have on the opposite. They've been more than welcoming to the music and more than welcoming to a vocal tune that's more contemporary. And I'm like, great. So it's a win-win. So I'll be doing that. And I'll be playing with some other men and women in town in some other idioms so that I can grow more. That's the whole idea.
All right. So first time guest, you get one question for sure. There's a possible follow-up question depending upon how you answer the first one. The first one is, when you are not participating in the entertainment and arts scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Well, I have a lot of interests, but photography is probably my strongest one. Yeah. I've been a photographer all my life, and I've been noodling with photography and capturing images. And I've done that with all kinds of formats, with all kinds of different cameras, and mostly in nature. But I also did do some documentary type photography for a while. Got a little bit turned off by some of the privatization. People feel weird about having their picture taken in today's society. And I got that. Yeah. Mountains don't seem to complain as much. So yes, I would say, photography is one that I would love to be doing. I did podcasting for 10 years and loved that as well. Early on, 2005, I was one of the first podcasters out there. Yeah.
All right. So then the follow-up is, any other hobbies?
No, not really. I enjoy a good cigar. Like I said before, just being Cuban, I enjoy a good cigar. And I enjoy spending a lot of time with my wife. And we have 2 lovely King Charles Spaniels dogs that we love, rescues. And they keep us pretty busy.
We have a Cavachon.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There you go then.
And we love that little thing like crazy.
Yes.
All right. Victor Cajiao.
That was excellent.
Hey, plus for David.
Good job, David.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being on the show.
Well, I'm glad that we got to come on here.
Likewise.
And, folks, go check out jazzjams.com. You can see what I was up to during the pandemic. I recorded a bunch of myself playing all these wonderful songs to background tracks, but there's a ton of them. I probably learned over 100 tunes that year.
Woo.
It was a great way to spend a terrible time.
Excellent. Appreciate it once again. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holley Hour in just a moment.
Are you an artist? Need some funding to further your art? There's a great opportunity for you through a Sioux Falls Arts Council program. The Artist Microgrant program gives away several microgrants to local artists, no matter what art discipline you're in. Unlike more traditional grants, a microgrant is very easy to apply for. Go to artssiouxfalls.org. If you haven't done so yet, create a listing on the Artist Directory, which is beneficial in its own way. Then go to the Artist Microgrants page and apply online. The process is simple. Find out more about the Sioux Falls Arts Council as well online at artssiouxfalls.org.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at Exo Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or exokairos.com. Excellent care for excellent people. Exo Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Trio Jazz Club, where the stage is always alive with something new. 2 standout shows are coming your way this week. Don't miss your chance to grab a seat. Saturday night, welcome back the Ryan Picone Quartet from Minneapolis. Guitarist, educator, and jazz innovator, Ryan brings his expressive style and sharp musicianship to Trio Jazz stage for one unforgettable night. And Wednesday night, it's the first Wednesday of the month. That means it's time for Jazz Jam. Join them for a fully improvised evening featuring rising local talent, sitting in with their heroes and the house band, led by Dan Heyer. You never know what magic might happen next. All other shows this week are sold out, so don't wait. Grab your tickets now at triojazzclub.com and catch the music while you can.
Funny, engaging, connected. He's the entertainment reporter for Sioux Falls. Here's Dave Holley.
Welcome back, everyone. Always a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment, and always a pleasure to talk to this man who's been on several times. Matt Morrison, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. I'm always glad to be with you.
Yes, well, you see, the nice thing is you've already let me know before that if I need to fill in late in the game, you're probably available.
If you're so desperate that any warm body will do, I'm happy to be here for you.
No. You are not just any warm body. You are a multi-talented musician. You also do sing. You are in a lot of different things. And then, of course, you're a pastor as well at Asbury Methodist here in Sioux Falls. So you got a few things on the plate.
Yeah, I'm rarely ever bored.
True. Yeah. Well, and I always tell people, I say, busy beats boredom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
And it's a matter of busy with a bit of balance, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's always the challenge.
Right. And because you can be busy relaxing, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And just like, after we're finished recording, I'm going to make sure the podcast gets all put together, put to bed, so it comes out tomorrow morning, as per usual. But that leaves my afternoon pretty free, and I know that a particular baseball team that I love has an afternoon game.
Fabulous.
So I have that part of busy taken care of. But you have been busy, not so much this past summer, but you're gearing up for many, many things. So first of all, and I don't know if I pat myself on the back for this or not. I kind of steered you toward Katie Reed, and so you are in common ground. And but Katie's in the meantime also in Surf and Safari now, and they play a lot of gigs. But so you guys haven't had as many gigs as in the past, but it's such a great duo. And how are you feeling about it now after a year?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Katie and I are very different people. We're in very different places in life, and come from very different places musically too. And so it took a little time when we first got together to sort of figure each other out and find that rhythm together.
Right.
I feel like we have a really good rapport. She understands me well enough to know that I'll just roll with anything.
Right.
She also knows that I'm just slightly quirky and goofy enough to where she'll be kind of surprised by certain elements of what we do together.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, we've learned how to communicate with each other with as different personalities as we are. And that was where, for me, coming out of having played with my late wife, Amy, for so long, it was just intuitive. And we had worked together for so long that it was just seamless.
Right.
And we could read each other's minds. And, and Katie and I have just sort of had to find that, for lack of a better term, common ground to be able to do what we do and to feel good about what we do and to really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well,
so it's been good.
I'm so glad that it worked out. And for both of you.
Absolutely.
She was going through a bit of a tough time. You'd gone through a tough time. And so it was like, here's a possibility.
Yeah.
And glad to see it and hear it too. And thank you, by the way, if I never said thank you enough, for being in the Vaughties last November.
Yeah. No, that's fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a great time. And by the way, you'll see the Vaughties t-shirt over here now displayed.
It's fabulous.
You are an alumni, so you get $5 off.
Oh, nice.
All right. So common ground, we covered that then. But you are a big part of Good Night Theater Collective. And they have a rather large agenda coming up for the schedule.
Yes, indeed.
And because it's going to be year 10, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It's season 10. It's good stuff.
Wow. Yeah. And you were in the first 3 shows or 3 total?
For this season, I'll be in the first 3 shows in very different capacities.
Okay.
Yeah. So they kick things off with the Decade Gala that's towards the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of an overview of shows that Goodnight has done over the years in a cabaret form.
Right.
So it's a lot of musical theater pieces, but just one piece per show that Goodnight has done in the past, along with a handful of favorites from various cabarets that they've done over the years. And I am slated to do the band leading for that, which really a lot of what that means is putting charts together, organizing rehearsals, rehearsing the band, getting everything put together. And it's a different kind of cabaret for us in that respect, because we're still working with an instrumentation that's fairly familiar to us in the cabaret settings, which is more your standard 4-piece, keys, guitar, bass, drums, with the occasional color instrumentation, which I'll be providing for this one. But we're usually covering pop and rock songs in that kind of setting. And now we're having to do songs from Into the Woods and Sweeney Todd and Spring Awakening and Sound of Music and all of these shows that are not orchestrated for the types of instrumentation that we're going to have.
Right.
So I'm not so much loving putting the charts together, because it's a heavy lift.
Yes, it is.
Because I've got to put together about twice as much stuff as I normally would in order for us to all be on the same page. But on the creative side, I'm really loving the opportunity to listen to these songs with fresh ears and to listen to these songs and think, how do we deliver this with the instrumentation that we have in a way that honors the spirit of the song, in a way that really supports what the vocalists are going to want to do to deliver this song to an audience, with the instrumentation that we have? Where are those creative edges that we can kind of press into? We're not going to recreate most of the accompaniments verbatim, because we simply don't have the instrumentation to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is something I thrive on. I love that opportunity to reimagine things and think, how do we do this in a different way that's still true to the piece, but also true to who we are musically. So it's going to be a lot of fun to put that one together.
All right. And you said you're bringing colorful instrumentation. What what does the bag of goodies include?
Well, I haven't come up with the full bag of goodies yet, but odds are good. There'll be definitely trumpet and flugelhorn. There's just enough horn stuff, and that as a harmonic layer within the texture of a piece can create a lot of space and a lot of nuance. So that's home base for me in a lot of ways, since that's the instrument that I have a piece of paper that says I should know how to play it. But then I'll probably also add some keyboard strings. I'm hearing in one or two pieces, maybe a little bit of harmonium or accordion, that sort of reedy sort of sound. Odds are good there'll be some auxiliary percussion involved, and yeah, we'll just kind of have to see what else.
Okay.
What else comes our way?
Yeah, because you are, in fact, I thought of you and sent you something the other day. I had seen this basically folded out, pop it up little drum kit.
Yeah.
Because I know that you do have a bass drum.
Yep.
Not a full size, but it provides what it needs to, and you can sit there and be hitting that with your foot and playing trumpet and doing whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, Matt could be a one-man band. So I didn't know how to put it up on the board when welcoming you, whether it was just Matt Morrison or, well, we can go with musician.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that covers a lot.
It does. It really does.
So what's the second show and what capacity are you in?
So the second show is the one that I lobbied for the hardest for this next season, because it's been a few years since I played bass for a Goodnight show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the first bass player for a live band for Goodnight, and have been really fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. And I will say, this is not self-deprecating in any way. Every other bass player that Goodnight has access to is a better bass player than I am. I don't feel like I'm that bad. They just have some really great musicians that they can call on. And oftentimes it just has not worked out for me to be a part of the live bands in a bass capacity the last few seasons. But we're revisiting Rocky Horror, which we had done several seasons ago, and I played bass for that one. And so I lobbied very, very hard to be the bass player for that one again, because it was a fun show to play. And if there was one this season that I was really locked in on, this one I would love to play bass, that would be the one.
I host trivia on Monday nights, and this past week we had a Rocky Horror Picture Show question. Who played the original Eddie, and it was Meatloaf.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then I wanted to grab a clip, and so I chose Hot Patootie, Bless My Soul.
Yep.
And
great song.
Oh, it is. I bet I listened to it 10 times that day. Yeah, man, I like this. I'd forgotten about that song.
And you may or may not hear that one in the Decade Gala as well, because there is a Rocky Horror song in that show too. So.
Yeah, okay.
But I won't be playing bass on that one.
Yeah. So you're going to strictly bass on that, not leading or anything?
With Rocky. Jane Root is doing the band leading for that, and I just get to show up and play and have fun.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Third.
Yeah, so third, I get to be in White Christmas, doing a full stage production of that. So I get to play the general. I get to play the one who owns the...
owns the ski resort.
Yep. And,
Waverly.
Yeah. So I last year I got to play an admiral in Nazi Germany. So I feel like I'm demoted, though I'm demoted in rank, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. So,
first of all, for my love and I, that is our favorite show.
Oh, fun.
Both on film, live, stage production. And I still, some of my favorite, especially the movie with Waverly. And when they're going, Bob and I were just saying this would be ideal place to rehearse, and back and forth on. And he goes, I think we've established that this is ideal. The small lines you remember and so forth. And such a fun part. So, do you have a uniform, or will that be coming from the costume department?
Well, it better be coming from a costume department. Yeah, I do not have one of those just sitting in the closet waiting to be brushed off. So.
Yeah, whereas, if Amy were still here with us, she probably would have had one.
Well, she actually had a long,
right.
It was a long Air Force wool jacket that she had picked up at a thrift store back in high school that she had for years because, of course, Amy had something like that.
Oh, she had to. and if it could be that way, she probably wanted it in polka dot.
Yeah, it's hard to find military issue garb in polka dot.
Yeah, Camadot.
Right.
In the meantime, tell us about the studio. How is Effervescence doing?
Yeah, we're continuing to build on Effervescent Voice Academy, which is kind of the last dream that Amy put into motion before she passed. And it's a multi-teacher voice studio in Sioux Falls. It's just off of downtown on Minnesota Avenue. And it's set up to be a multi-teacher voice studio where clients have access to any of the teachers depending on what their goals are as they move forward. So we've been in a season of personnel transition this summer with some teachers experiencing some life changes. We've had a couple of weddings. We've got my daughter Maya is actually stepping out of teaching because she's getting ready for her senior year at Augie. And so we're incorporating some new teachers. We're having to incorporate some of those things. The exciting thing that we have coming up is that we're going to be able to begin to offer piano lessons as well.
Fantastic.
So So we're still putting the final pieces in place to before we can really launch that on a broader scale. But we know that from past history that vocal teachers and piano teachers are the most in demand and often the hardest to find. And so once we had something almost fall in our lap where we had someone asking about teaching piano, it felt like a good time to begin to put the pieces in place. And we needed to find a second teacher just to have enough coverage so that clients aren't like locked into just one day a week. And once we get those final pieces put in place, that'll be nice for us to be able to have that in-house. And then even with the way that we're set up with just vocal lessons, you have the opportunity to do lessons, pay as you go and just schedule a lesson at a time, or you can have a membership that gets you a reduced rate on lessons, plus a couple of other benefits. And the nice thing is, once we add the piano to the mix, you can even mix and match voice and piano lessons. So if you're wanting to pick up a little bit on both ends of it, all of that is accessible to you.
You'll be bundling like Progressive Insurance, right?
Right. Yep.
But you do spend a lot of time down there.
I
especially this summer.
I tend to spend time down there when I have to, because I've got a full-time ministry job that is, has its own demands. It's not a small task. And then own this business that I never intended to own, because it was always Amy's baby. But I believe so strongly in the dream that she had for it, the vision that she had, and what she was putting in motion, and the need that the community has for that kind of resource, to where we've been able to carry it on and continue to seek to grow it. And so I'm down there when I need to be, and that's primarily to do front desk coverage, because we do have a policy down there that, especially with minor students, we want to have 2 adults present.
All the time.
It's good for the client. It's good for the teacher.
Right.
It's good for the studio. And so we do everything that we can to make sure that is in place. And if, like the last few days, our admin was sick out of the office, it's up to us then to figure out how do we get that covered with volunteers or with the owner doing his ministry work from down at the studio. And in a perfect world, eventually we would be at the point where we would have enough staffing to be able to do full coverage. We just haven't quite grown to that point where we can sustain that. So it's definitely, I don't think we're terribly far off from that. And with it being a new business starts always take time to reach sustainability. And especially when that business was built around a particular skill set of a particular person that's no longer with us, that first year was a lot of adaptation and trying to figure out what of Amy's original vision and her processes and structures could we keep in place, and what did we need to reimagine given where we're at and who we have on board. And so I feel like we're in a pretty good place in terms of finding our rhythms. We could also, though, use another teacher or two. Which is a great problem to have.
Exactly.
We would love to have another voice teacher or two down there to be able to just make things more available for clients, so that we're not so reliant on the schedules of 1 or 2 people to make it all happen.
Did I hear you say a few minutes back that Maya is going to be a senior in college now?
Wow. And just got engaged a couple of weeks ago.
That's right. I did see that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be your second time of being a father-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, good for you.
Well, thank you.
And glad that life is moving along for you in so many great ways. And then, of course, another group that you are a part of, Midtown Coffee Radio Hour.
Yep.
That seasonal schedule will start up pretty soon.
Yeah, we're starting to populate our long list of songs for the September show. That show will be the week before the Goodnight show that I'm currently preparing for as well. So it'll be a lot all at the same time. But Midtown is just such a different rhythm, and it's a lot more on the fly. But there's also a lot more freedom in that, in just having to adapt to what everyone else is bringing to the table, in ways that it's just a different kind of creative challenge. And so even though it's a lot in 2 weeks in terms of having two productions,
right,
different productions going on, the flavor of those things are so different that they draw on a different kind of energy. So I'm not going to reach the end of the Decade Gala with Goodnight and be completely exhausted from having done a Midtown show the week before. It'll really, if anything, I think that the Midtown week will almost give me a chance to refresh going into production week for the Decade Gala.
And I'm assuming they're probably going to have a holiday show too, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what our schedule is. I think we've got 3.
Well, I'm just sitting there thinking of you doubling up once again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and we honestly, there's so much overlap between our Midtown personnel and Goodnight personnel that we often, when we sit down, we sketch out the entire Midtown season with Goodnight's schedule in mind, so that we don't double up, and also to acknowledge, especially once we know where people are cast, it's easier for us to be able to say, we need to steer a couple of weeks out or 3 weeks out if it's a big production. I think of Sound of Music this past season, Marin playing a lead in that needed a little more leeway between a Midtown show and that week, so that she didn't burn herself out. And so we really try to be cognizant of those rhythms and look out for each other in those settings so that we can do what we need to do as effectively and as high quality as we can without impeding what we're trying to offer in other venues as well.
So you are a trumpeter.
Yes. At least historically I have been.
Yes. And that's what you have, the nice piece of paper.
Yes.
Saying that you are very good and very accomplished.
Or once was, yes.
When did everything else come along? Because you play bass a lot.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it shifted when we first started working in ministry in the late 90s. We wound up at a church out in Indiana for about 8 years. And, I was still trying to be active on trumpet and trying to keep my chops up and that kind of thing, and just was not playing at all, which you lose a little bit of impetus to keep in shape with that. And I really got about a year into our time out there, we had enough musicians to be able to do 2 different worship teams, except we only had one bass player. And I really felt like, it's an instrument that even if all I'm playing is just the basics, the most basic parts, it'll at least get us somewhere. And I can hold that space until someone comes along that can do it better, and which is basically what happened. And in the process of learning bass, I was beginning to also find that anytime that I wanted to sing for anything, because I didn't play an instrument that I could accompany myself on, I was always having to ask someone else to either play piano or guitar. Thankfully, I had a piano player in my back pocket with Amy. And but I really reached the point where it's like I really would love to be able to do stuff solo when the opportunity arises. And I had tried to pick up guitar back in college and was just too much of a perfectionist and was so focused on trumpet that, I'd pick up a guitar and I would play for like 15 minutes. I'd get frustrated that it just wasn't locking in for me, and I would set it down. And then I'd come back to it, 8-9 months later, and I'd go through it again. And we had a youth director that had a guitar that he just left at the church. And so he told me I was welcome to use it any time. And so I began to, I found a couple of songs with just chord charts and just began to play during my own quiet time at the church. And all of a sudden it was like beginning to click. It was almost like the timing just needed to be right for that to be more accessible to me. And so I probably started playing guitar back in 99. And still, I would say I'm not a great guitar player. I'm very much a rhythm guitar player. and I don't do anything fancy, but I know how to work within the framework of what I know how to do. And so that's kind of where I picked those up. Most of the rest of the stuff I didn't pick up until after Amy and I started Two White Squares. That's when I picked up ukulele. I of course in my music education had to go through piano proficiency. So I've always been able to chord on things, but I just never needed to because I always had Amy to do that. And so now I am doing a little more, especially like harmonium, where it's more that kind of, it's one of those where you've got the bellows that you pump the air through, and it's set up like a piano keyboard, but it sounds more accordion-ish. And, to be able to just do some easy chording, I can still do that kind of stuff.
Well, you still do things very well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So don't sell yourself short.
I appreciate that.
All right. And of course, I always have to ask this question. You got the mustache back, and you're going full beard. Going though, is this going to do a part or
no? In fact, I'm always kind of on pins and needles, waiting to hear from a director when I'll need to get rid of of the facial hair. I decided after I wanted to keep the beard through Sound of Music. I last year I played the narrator, the Gene Shepard part in Christmas Story the musical,
right,
and I had been going without the beard with just the mustache, and I opted to keep that through that because the year before had played Kris Kringle in Miracle on 34th Street. And it's like, I don't want to do 2 Christmas shows in a row
where you look the same.
Where I look the same. Yeah. And so I intentionally kept the mustache, but not the full beard, which honestly worked really, really well with with Jack playing Ralphie, because we did. I mean, there was a physical resemblance there, and I jokingly told people I only got cast because of how Jack looked, and so I grew the beard back for Sound of Music, and then I got done with it, and it's like I'm going to go back to just the mustache, and then I got about 3 weeks into it. It's like, nah, I think I'm gonna go back to the beard. So now I'm just waiting to see. What we'll see what my director wants to do for White Christmas, and I will adapt at that point. And yeah, I've only done one show without any facial hair, and I've had the mustache now for coming up on 12 years.
When you said that only one,
yeah,
I almost thought there was going to be a tagline, and that was 19. It sounded like it was going that way.
It was for Sensibility when I did that just over a year ago.
That's right.
And what was so funny was Rachel Payne, my director for that. I'd been talking with her, and I asked her about the mustache, and she said, "Oh, it'll be fine." And then she had to text me a couple of days later and say, I talked to my costumer and set designers and all that. And yeah, in that period, the only Englishmen that would have had facial hair would have been degenerates. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't want to be a degenerate then for this.
Oh, goodness. Always great to get back together with you, Matt. And you've been here so often that I have to come up with different questions at the end because you've answered all the other ones. I don't think I've asked you this one, though. What would the title of your autobiography be?
Ooh, honestly, it would probably be Jack of all trades, master of none.
I've always liked that saying.
Yeah. I mean, I've just found that, well, I mean, especially musically, it suits me really well because, yes, I used to be a very serious trumpet player. I'm nowhere near where I was before, but I can pick it back up and I can get myself to a certain level. And I've always said that my biggest strength as a musician is that I know what my limitations are and I know how to work within those to be able to contribute to whatever group I'm a part of. And so I feel like that title suits me well.
That it would, no doubt about it. Well, my friend, thank you for taking some time. Appreciate you being able to fill in whenever.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Love being with you, Dave.
Thank you. Love it as well. And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holley Hour in just a moment.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony don't simply provide the service, they provide professional care for your hands and feet. Whether you just want the basics or you're looking for an extra special look with an added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails on Minnesota. Call for an appointment, 605-334-1463.
Follow the Dave Holley Hour on Facebook and Instagram.
Thanks again to my great guests, Victor Cajiao and Matt Morrison. Remember to listen after the show closed to hear Victor's title track, Surrender. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to download, listen, share the show. Take a few minutes and look at DaveHolleyHour.com. Every one of these 285 episodes is available anytime. We look forward to hearing from you as well. Drop us a note. I encourage you to find your art. Find the art you enjoy. Find the art you're interested in trying. And we will see you in the arts. As the Sioux Falls Arts Council says, together we art. As Arts South Dakota says, home is where the art is. As I say, put some art in your heart. Remember, my name is Dave Holley, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holley Hour has been brought to you by Trio Jazz Club, Sioux Falls' premier jazz club. Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, Excel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. Stay up to date on the show by following on Instagram and Facebook. All episodes available anytime at DaveHolleyHour.com. The Dave Holley Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.